Are you muted? Can't hear you. Huh. I can't hear you, Beto. Your mic is closed. I'm gonna. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna call back. Talk to me. Can you hear me? Talk to me. Can you hear me? I can't hear you anything. You can't hear me? hang up, and call again, and open up the mic. Okay, can you hear me now? I see you connected, but you don't have your mic is not on. Connecting to audio. Okay, talk to me. Hello.
Hi.
See, I hear her perfectly. I think Beto's mic is not on. Let me text him.
Sometimes when I use the headphones, it ends up messing me up.
There we go.
There we go. Yay! Okay, so you want me like this?
I don't know what happened, but hey.
Your mic was muted.
No, it was I got that fancy microphone.
Oh, I have one of those.
That doesn't look like a mic.
Hey. And Claudia Trejos is in the room.
Yes, I am.
And we're recording, and we have people in the room. So welcome to Claudia Trejos.
Well, I just said it looks like a spaceship.
It looks like an Emmy Award that you got plenty of.
All right, let me see. Déjame ver tu Emmy Award.
I don't have no Emmys. How you doing, Claudia?
Doing well. How you doing, Beto?
Está bien. Serena Morales, Claudia Trejos.
I love your hair, Serena.
Thank you. I love your hair.
Give yourself a few years. Don't.
No, yo lo tengo. I have them. It's just that I color my hair blonde, so it like makes.
It's the ombre effect. I got
it.
Serena, you're Puerto Rican?
Yeah, Puerto Rican, Colombian.
And Colombian?
Mm.
Jeez.
Represent!
No, sure already know.
So who's your dad's like Puerto Rican?
Yeah, my dad's Puerto Rican, my mom's Colombian.
And you're from the Bronx, right?
Yeah, I don't look like either of them. Yeah, from the Bronx. All the Puerto Ricans live in the Bronx.
And Claudia,
a good place to be.
And Claudia, you're what? Miami, right?
I live in Miami. I was born and raised in Colombia.
Oh, okay. What part?
Cali.
Ah, okay. My abuelo's in Cartagena right now.
Love it. Cartagena is gorgeous.
So
San Juan de Puerto Rico and Cartagena are very similar. And
yeah, they're like the old town cities. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, la ciudad murallada.
I'm trying to. Are we getting Sierra here? Is she gonna?
Yeah, she'll be jumping in.
Okay. How many people are on? Like, are there?
Right now there's 4, but 35 people signed up for this.
Oh, look at that.
For this session, and because so many people, I've made it a webinar, so we're just going to see each other.
Okay.
I did not want to.
Oh, we're not going to have interaction with the people.
They can ask questions, and I'll read them out. But the last thing I wanted to do was look at 35 different boxes.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's 35 too many boxes for you to look at, Beto.
And it's funny, for this session, guys have signed up, so they can hear your struggles, which is good.
That's great. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Ain't enough.
And Serena's joining us in a bit.
Yay. Okay. Fixing that tripod, sorry. Much better. That way I'm not going to end up with torticolis here.
Serena, Sierra, Serena.
Hello, Serena. Hi.
Claudia, Serena, Sierra.
Sorry, hey, I was on mute. How's everyone doing?
Sierra, hi.
Good.
Doing well.
Good. Here, can you tell me, should I be like this?
There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. All right, we'll get going. Sierra, where are your dogs at?
One is right here, and the other one just got
Bebe.
the other one just got not like surgery, but he had like a dental cleaning, but it's basically like surgery because they put him under and everything.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he's a little under the weather, I guess you could say.
I knew there'd be a dog somewhere with you.
They're always here.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for doing this. Probably not too long. And
Thank you, Beto, for putting this together. I appreciate it.
No.
no problem. Like, we'll wait one more minute because people are coming through. Like I was telling you, so Sierra is Fox Phoenix. She just moved back there from Chicago. Serena, Rams.com reporter, and used to be on ESPN SportsCenter. And Claudia Trejos, DAZN, and a bunch of other things in Miami. Trailblazer and extraordinaire. We couldn't do it without what you've been doing. So what I wanted to do this. So let's get going. Because if you're late, you're late. All right, here we go. Like they do on TV, right? Welcome to Living the Dream Latino Speaker Series. I'm still trying to figure out the different names. My name is Beto Duran. And before I introduce our panelists, some of you are thinking, who is this guy? Well, why is he here with three wonderful women? I'm going to explain to you. I am a sports reporter based in Los Angeles. Been doing it for about 20 years. And I am a freelancer. I do play-by-play reporting. And one thing I've always noticed over the years is the lack of a Latino pipeline. And this isn't going to be like, oh, Viva la Raza kind of thing, and nobody gives us a chance. It's not that. It's more of, hey, you look around a room, and usually in English, you're usually the only one. And what I wanted to do today and this past couple weeks and years is we don't ever help each other out. And if you look at and before we start this, by the way, do not record this. This is exclusive for you that registered, and I'm not going to put this on YouTube. This is only for you. So don't record it and send it to somebody else, because we're going to be speaking very frank for you. And from what I can think about, nothing like this has ever been done. The National Association of Hispanic Journalists, they're busy. They're doing a bunch of other things, but they don't ever do anything for sports. And the Asian American Journalists Association does a great job for them. The National Association of Black Journalists do a great job with the Sport Task Force. But for the Latinos, you don't ever have anything because we're so different. You have Colombians, you have Puerto Ricans, you have Dominicans, you have Mexicans don't speak Spanish. And if you want to work in English, it's like, huh, why? So I've always thought that we need to help each other out. And the whole point of this is for you, an aspiring journalist, an aspiring reporter, or for you who might be working at your second or third job, you're trying to figure out who can I look for? Because the higher you go up, you realize everybody there is white, male, old, and you are looked at a certain way. You're treated a certain way. And what I want to do with today's thing is bring in ladies that are living their dream. There are many Latinas in TV. There are few in English TV, and there are even fewer in sports. And when you want to get quality professionals, I couldn't think of anybody else to bring in but these three right here. So if you have any questions, we'll get to the questions later on. But what I wanted to do today is introduce these three ladies and have them tell you their story of how hard it's been for them and what they've done. We're going to start off with Serena Morales, covers the Rams for Rams.com. Puerto Rican Colombian, grew up in the Bronx, went to Syracuse. And Serena used to be on ESPN SportsCenter, so we could talk about her experiences, one of the few Latinas on ESPN. Sierra Santos is with Phoenix Fox 10, just moved back home. She went to Arizona State. I think we met when you were in LA for a little bit. Yeah. She went from Oklahoma City to LA to Chicago, now back home, rising star in the business. And Claudia Trejos, who is a trailblazer in the business. And I say this sincerely, and Claudia and I have been friends for a lot of years. I always harass her like, nobody like you, because there really isn't. Claudia Trejos was the first ever Latina on English TV sports section when she did Trailblaze for KTLA 5 in the 90s. And since then, there was nobody else. So when you think about the lack of opportunities, they're not there. And these three ladies are here to help you out with that. And I'm going to start with you, Claudia. Thank you for joining us today. Give me a little bit about your journey and where you've gone through.
I've had a great, very interesting journey. Like you said, Beto, you just brought great memories because I went from an independent, very small channel at the time. It was KWHY Channel 22 in Los Angeles. Nobody really even knew about it. But before I even got there, I was working at a station. I don't think any of you were born yet, but it was called Prime Ticket. Then it became Prime Sports, and then it became Fox Sports. So there I started as literally a grip. I would moonlight as a grip. I would work editing and writing and producing. And then eventually, one of those days, talent didn't show up. They said, it's halftime for La Liga. Jump in. I said, sure. How hard can it be at the time? No makeup, pretty much like just do it. And my life has been pretty much like that. Just do it. I very little support, very little guidance, because I was walking into the good old boys room in the Hispanic and English media. And I was the odd one. Literally, I looked different. I sounded different. For the Americans, obviously, I sounded different. I've always had an accent. And for the Hispanics, I was a girl. And at the time, I was in my very, very early 20s. So by 1998, by 1996, we were getting ready for France. So they offered me this job to take over the sports segment at Channel 22. I went from being in the production behind the scenes. So I said, sure, why not? And it was tough. And 2 years later, I got the opportunity to jump from Hispanic into Anglo. And I remember clearly, we had the Adrian Beltres, the Raul Mondeses, Andres Galarraga was doing, he was coming back after his bout with cancer. And I remember clearly doing this great interview with Andres Galarraga for obvious reasons. I'm Colombian, he's Venezuelan, we could speak Spanish. We ended up doing a great interview in Spanglish, we'd subtitle it, nominated for an Emmy, yada, 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 the whole shebang. But guess what? No matter what, I was replacing somebody with a huge legacy in the LA media, Ed Arnold. I know, Beto, you might remember him.
Yeah.
And of course, I was everything Ed wasn't. Ed, longstanding sports anchor, very active in the community. He was part of the Crystal Cathedral, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, Anglo. And here I come, the new kid, born and raised in Colombia. I wasn't even like American. I wasn't USA born. I was a U.S. citizen, but I still have an accent. And I remember going through my play-by-plays, and there was no way I could say live Andres Galarraga. It's Andres Galarraga, or, I just said it because Adrian Beltre. I said it because you eventually just kind of get the hang of it.
That's how
but I couldn't, huh?
That's how you would say it. Andres
Yeah, Andres Galarraga, Adrian Beltre, Raul Mondesi. So at the time, we were in the 30-30 race. And I remember clearly in the middle of the play-by-play, and I said, Raul Mondesi. Hal Fishman, I will never forget. He's sitting right next to me, and he goes, who?
Your anchor.
Yes, my anchor. Yeah, I know. Perhaps you guys don't remember him, but I remember Larry McCormick. He would sit with Marta Waller, and Larry was very cultured, and he spoke a little bit of Spanish. So he was kind enough to say, oh, yeah, I know Raul, but it's Raul Mondesi, not Raul Mondesi.
It was Raul Mondesi. It was Raul Mondesi.
Raul. It was Raul Mondesi, not Raul. Forget about it.
Yeah.
So it's always very difficult to be the different kid. Or let's backtrack. Being the new kid in the sports media is tough, be it boy or girl, man or woman. We had cliques. I mean, we're talking long-standing sports personality, the Fred Rogans, the Jimmys. I mean, where do I stop? I mean, it was long-standing everywhere in NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. And not only am I the new kid, now I am replacing, like I said, somebody like Ed Arnold, born and raised in Colombia. I'm Hispanic. I'm actually bilingual and bicultural. But that didn't matter. People would just get stuck in the fact that she's too cute. She should be doing entertainment. Why don't you just go ahead and do entertainment? I got that for years. And then
Serena and Sierra are both nodding their head like, man.
But those are the kind of things, that challenges that challenge you. And they really make you be better. Maybe the motivation is not the best because you're just so afraid of having a bad day. And God knows we all have bad days at the office. I remember clearly walking into the Forum. This is way before you were all born, but we're talking about Wednesday night boxing at the Forum. and it was musky, and people used to smoke. And, for years, the Juan Manuel Marquez, for God's sakes, he thought I was a boy. And then one day he sees me all dressed up because, we look different. Of course, we walk in, we are not hosting, we're not doing anything. And then we glamour up. And then it was like, oh my God, you're a girl. Yeah. But and that's what happens on a regular basis. And I got news for all y'all. It doesn't change.
Yeah, well,
It
it's
doesn't
2020,
change.
and we're doing this panel for that reason, because you're talking
Yes.
about something that happened in the 90s, and I was in high school watching you. Now that we talked about your age,
You can say.
I always tell Claudia, like, I used to watch you, right? as me harassing you, because that's how we get along. And you're like, damn
Yeah.
it. And I remember people.
No, you can say pinche Beto, because that's what I say.
But we're now in 2020, and Serena, you're nodding your head at some of the stuff that Claudia's talking about. Look, you were on SportsCenter, and you were going through that stuff.
Yeah, like on SportsCenter, because you get to ESPN and you're like, okay, I hit my dream. What am I doing here, right? No, I mean, one, they threw me on a show, and you both can speak to, all three of you can speak to this. When you get thrown on a CNN, an ESPN, anything that ends in an N, it's like, hey, we want you to be that Latina. Like, we want you, we're gonna put you in they become the UN, right? So we had Jay Harris, we had the black reporter, we had the girl next door, Jamie Sire, my good friend, we had Kevin Nagandi, we had the Indian, we had the Latina. We're gonna put you all, so you're gonna fit in your boxes, and we're gonna figure you all out. Yep. And like, to Claudia's point, it's funny because, and you're from Colombia, I was born and raised in the Bronx, so I have this completely different experience, which to Beto, you're saying, like, all Latinos are different. So I'm coming in here, my whole entire life I was called Blanquita, yo, Blanquita, white girl, come over here. And I'm in the Bronx, but I'm so fair-skinned that in the Bronx, everyone is so dark. So I'm growing up like, haha, I'm the white girl, that's so funny. I get to Syracuse, I'm taking classes. Oh my God, I have no identity. I have no idea what I am half the time.
Oh, at Syracuse?
Go to Syracuse, and it's very white, and I get to Newhouse, the top journalism school, and I am so intimidated, and everyone's already taken a journalism class in high school. They were the sports reporter of their newspaper, and everyone had something. I come in there blinded. I'm just like, I want to be the New York Yankees reporter, and I think this is where I'm supposed to be. I had no idea. I had an accent, a stronger accent than I had now. But so then I get there, and my professor's like, you don't have college writing level skills. We don't understand what you're saying. You need to lose your accent. So I had to take extra classes on the side with my professor. I felt like the worst. I mean, I was coming in from the Bronx too with like Tim's and my hoop earrings and my hoodie. And I'm sitting there with kids who are like I'm the only Latina in my classes. I think there was like 4 Latinos total in Newhouse at the time. I am way out of my league. And so, and they're telling me, they're like, oh, and you want to do sports? We just thought you were, trying to do this journalism thing. We're not even sure what you want to do. Maybe you go into entertainment. And I was like, nah, I played baseball in the Bronx. I was playing baseball, guys. So I'm ready to cover, Bernie Williams, and I'm ready to cover all these Raul Mondesi. I'm over here ready to cover some dudes that are like, I'm not here to, I don't know what you're talking about. So then it was like even more so I felt.
Then you came out with your strong Bronx attitude.
So then I don't fit in there. Then I get past that and I get to ESPN and I'm like, okay, I made it.
You made it.
Nah, man. Cause then they're like, hey, I just worked on like angloing myself and being like, hello, I'm Serena Morales. So I'm going to talk like this. No, now at ESPN, they're like, could you be a little more Latino? We're not sure if you can be Latino enough. And I was like, literally have worked so hard to just be somebody. And my name is Morales, and my dad is a Morales from Puerto Rico, and my mom is a Morales from Colombia. So
you're double Morales? Oh.
Exactly, double Morales. And my father, when he came from Puerto Rico, he was like, listen, Linda, I made fun of her being only speaking Spanish when I grew up. I want you to make sure you learn English because I want you to have an easier time than I did growing up. So my Spanish is casual. Like I speak to my abuelo in Spanish half the time, but I also speak to him in English. He speaks to me in Spanish. But I'm not going to do grammatically correct Spanish on air. So they're like, oh, why don't you do Spanish on air? And I'm like, why are you trying to put me on Telemundo? Why can't I be on ESPN and just rock it here instead of being like typecasted in one thing? Because again, Latinos are so different, but it doesn't mean that I'm not Latino or anything.
Oh,
Yes,
It was
I know.
and now I'm going through it again in Los Angeles. I'm called Brown half the time. I'm called this or that, or who knows what I am. We're not sure where you
Well,
are.
think about it. Remember, you guys all know me. Like Claudia calls me Beto. You two know me call Beto because in English TV, everybody called me Beto, right? And it's my name's Beto, but I've never corrected. I never corrected Claudia because my real name is Humberto. I can't even go.
I know, so it's Beto.
Yeah, but they can't say it. They call it Beto. And
Okay,
I'm like,
all this time I thought it was Pinche Beto.
well, that too. See, that's the other show on Friday, Pinche Beto. But that goes back to what people are like. Oh, the Mexicans. Oh, you don't say your name right. I'm like, dude, if you knew what we go through just to even get on air, I'm not gonna worry about the accent over the A on my name, like, right? So
I got a great story just on my name, and you mentioned somebody that I love dearly, Jay Harris. I call him the voice of God. He's adorable. He's one of the nicest people. Okay, so this is among us four. Let me just share. So I do boxing. I don't know if you guys know that, but like I would do the Sports Center at 7 o'clock in the morning. So Jay would be on air, da da da, and he goes, "I am so sorry, but how do I pronounce your last name?" I said, "Jay, it's Trejos." He goes, "What?" I said, "Trejos." He says, "I just cannot roll my R like that." I said, "Okay, let's put it this way. You go Trejos, as in three hoes, Trejos, Claudia Trejos." And he got it. There's no way. They get it. You know what? And at the end, I don't know if this happened to you guys, to you, Beto and Serena. There's a point where you're so thankful that they're trying, that somebody's actually trying to just give you your identity back.
yeah, and Sierra, like you've gone through this because you've worked in different markets like
Oh,
Oklahoma,
Chicago.
in LA,
Oklahoma.
Chicago, Oklahoma City.
So, well, I think the worst time was actually my first job because I went in, I couldn't find a job in sports. I took the next best thing, which was a news job. And I was a news MMJ. I hated it. I hated doing the murders. I hated doing the sexual assaults. I hated doing the car accidents. I was so unhappy, so miserable. So kind of a long story short, the main sports anchor had died a month before I had gotten there. The weekend guy who had been there for 7 years, they didn't just move him up and hire a weekend person. They decided to do a national search for the main sports anchor instead of just promoting this poor bastard. And they found a guy ends up not working out. They fire him after a month. So then they finally promote the weekend guy. And I'm like, hey, I've been doing all the Friday night football coverage for high school football. You know, whenever you need help with Broncos, I'm up at every single Broncos game, either shooting the game or, being the on-camera talent. Like, that's just where my heart's at. Plus, we were at the NBC station. So I did all types of Olympics coverage leading up to the Summer Olympics. And so I had been filling in as an auxiliary sports person. And I started going in and practicing on my off days in the studio to get more reps at anchoring. And so they finally go and they hire a different weekend person, even though I was there and I said I wanted the job. I said, okay, fine. So they hire this weekend sports guy. He quits after 2 weeks, right before Christmas. And the main sports anchor hadn't had any time off. This was supposed to be the first time he's anchored or he's had a vacation since he, in almost 9 months, right? So he's supposed to have Christmas Eve and Christmas off. And so I go to them, the guy quits right before Christmas. I was like, yes, like this is my opportunity.
How sad is that? We have to celebrate such a situation.
I had already been practicing and everything. And so I write my news director an email. I was like, so-and-so's gone. So how about I do sports on Christmas Eve and Christmas?
Jump on
and my news director who had hired me had actually gotten fired. So the guy who liked me, who believed in me, was gone. And so I wrote them, and he's like, they're like, so why don't you go ahead and prepare the entire sportscast? So I go, okay, great. And so I wrote everything. I edited all of the video. I put in all my supers, everything like that. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have the main anchors read it. The main
I
anchors.
would have thrown a chancleta at everybody.
So I literally wrote this whole entire thing, put it all together, did the highlights, did everything. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to have the main news anchors read it. No. And so I finally went to my, my boss, and I was like, I want to do sports. This is what I'm passionate about, man. I've given you guys all kinds of great Olympic content, everything like that. What's the deal? And he's like, listen, I know you really love sports, and you can really tell your enthusiasm when you're doing it. And the thing is, Southern Colorado isn't ready for a female sports anchor, especially a minority. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. And so then a couple months later, like I said, I still hated doing news. I was trying to stick it out. A couple months later, the morning reporter position comes open. And I was like, okay, I'll go cover the pancake breakfast at the firehouse. And they're like, okay, we're looking for internal candidates. They sent out an email to everybody. And I was like, all right, this is going to be my chance. I'm going to get off like the dayside beat. I'm going to do something that's more up my alley, more personality driven. I was like, this is going to be perfect. So they go to my roommate, beautiful girl, blonde hair, blue eyes. She's now on Fox News, go figure. And she, like Fox National News Network. And so they go to her and they say, hey, do you have any interest in being the morning reporter? And she goes, I don't want to do bluff news. Are you kidding me? I want to be the hard news reporter. I don't want to do that. She goes, but you know what? I know Sierra really wants it. And the only other Latina at my station was the morning anchor, Marissa Torres. And he goes, well, we don't want to go all Univision in the mornings.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
And and part of the reason why we're doing this panel, because it wasn't too long ago, right, Sierra?
Oh,
when was this? That was going to be my next question. When was this?
When I was starting out, so 8 years ago. It wasn't even like a decade. It wasn't even a decade ago.
This is right before London.
Yeah.
So,
London is in the Olympics.
Yeah.
But the thing is, let me tell you something. HR is not there for you, because I went to HR with all this shit. And I was like, you guys need to let me out of my contract for this. And I went on and I had it all documented. And they were like, well, you need to, of course, they came back at me with their counter arguments as to, well, you did this and you did this and you did this. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is blatant racism. Like, and the GM who said that to me and who said that to my roommate is still at that station.
Yeah. It's what part of the reason why I'm putting this together is just to give people an awareness of it. And it's not the horror stories, because everybody goes through bad things. But Sierra, this was like 8 years ago. Serena, you're looking at nodding your head like, what the hell? Like, we've all heard these kind of stories. And part of the reason why we're doing this, look, me as a guy, I probably would have got that job, right, Serena?
Yes, probably.
Right, Sierra?
Yeah,
but you're the female, so you're looked at different, because you can't do sports. You can't do this. And let's get back to the
and how dare you be a Hispanic female? Third strike, God forbid you have a bad day at the office. You're done.
That's where I was going to go to. I'm going to start with you, Serena. When you're on ESPN doing Sports Center, you mentioned it, you're doing this. You can't do things wrong. You can't do this because you're scrutinized. Did you ever feel or get made to feel like you were hired just because you're the diversity hire?
Oh, I was definitely the diversity hire. I knew it, and they all knew it. And so, and to that point, it was like, I remember, so Rob King, who was at that time the head of Sports Center, and he had taken over Sports Center, he had put Jamel, Hill, and Michael on the 6 p.m. Sports Center. I mean, he was trying to change everything.
I love that.
Right, but there were too many. It was like, oh no, we all went minority on everybody. So it was just too much. And for me, they were like, okay, we've got, I mean, we had a really actually nice balance. Claudia, I mean, I love Jay Harris, and it was like a wonderful balance. I actually think if ESPN had put their head together, put like a Kenny Mayne and a me, put a Jay Harris and a Tony Collins, put a, like mix people up.
It works. It works.
Because you appreciate, I am no Jay Harris. I will never be a Jay Harris.
I know.
Jay Harris is never going to be me either. And that's
No.
where the whole diversity inclusion thing, God forbid we mention that, is where you get the best of both worlds. And so when I was at ESPN, it was really difficult because I was trying to, I felt like the diversity hire. And again, I had played baseball, but that was my first, get this, that was my first national television job ever. I had never read teleprompter prior to anchoring SportsCenter in the morning. The #1 show on ESPN, they put me on, and the first show ever was the day after the Super Bowl. So it was the most watched SportsCenter, and they put me, and I remember being like, oh my God, I'm dyslexic. And I had no idea I'm dyslexic. I had no idea my entire life because I just thought I was stupid. I never been tested for it because I went to public school in the Bronx where, like, again, you want to talk about minorities, then you want to talk about being a Latina or being a woman, and then you want to talk about all the other things that usually come with it where there's imbalances of poverty and inequality of like greater class
resources, yes.
Resources, all of that. Forget all of that. So I'm in a big classroom, not knowing anything, and I'm like, oh, I can't read. I'll just figure it out. So, which I'm sure all of you can speak to, is it's like, you have to just figure it out. So I figured it out. So I started memorizing all of my scripts on ESPN while teleprompter would move. I ended up teaching myself how to read teleprompter. I had huge cap letters. I had spaces. Like, if you wanted me to read Giannis Antetokounmpo's name on teleprompter, do not put that man's name in there. Just put Giannis and then just leave a blank, and I will fill in what I need to. But I ended up teaching myself how to do this and reading highlights. Like, they had thrown me in like, we need a Latina, so go be that person. And I learned on the job. But it's unfortunate because they never set me up to success, because maybe I don't fit this standard journalist, but I could be successful doing it. Like, I know what I'm doing. I went to school. I've got the background, but I was always like, well, you're not Latina enough, or you don't act enough like Jay Harris or Kevin Nagandi, or we need you to do this. Can you please read teleprompter versus just be the reporter that I had been a reporter. I don't need teleprompter to be a
rather than ad-libbing. You know, it's funny because I can relate in many ways because I'm highly dyslexic. I don't read prompter. I ad-lib everything. And Beto knows, I have stats right here. Like, it's kind of scary. Beto and I would go, oh yeah, 1967, because I've had to figure it out. Memory is my key. But they've also wanted me to be in that cookie cutter mold. Because God forbid, they don't throw the highlight the second it's supposed to go in. It's like, I just give you a cue. That's it.
Right, Sierra?
What's that?
That's you're nodding your head like some of these things you're dealing with it, right?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, the job I have now at Fox in Phoenix, when I found out that Jude LaCava, who's been here for 26 years, when I found out he was retiring, I was like, awesome. Like, I want to go to Fox in Phoenix because it's the #1 station. And this #2 guy is Richard Sines. And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, there's no way they are going to put an all Latino news or sports team together. I was like, there's no way. There's no way they're going to have us co-anchoring together. Like, they can't have two fucking token Latinos in the same sports department. Like,
but it's Phoenix.
Huh?
It's Phoenix.
Well, that's what shocked me. And I was like, I thought for sure they're going to want a blonde. They're going to want somebody white. And then they came back when they came back to me with the offer. I was like, are you sure? Like, really? I was like, okay, let's do this. They're like, no, we like it. Sines and Santos. And I was like, okay, let's get it. They're like, yeah.
Go, girl.
And 8 years before that, you were told, "No, we're not ready for this." And these are great stories, and I think everybody who's listening and observing is knowing that this is what you go through. And this business is amazing when you're doing the job. It's all the other outside bullshit that you got to deal with. Like when you're actually in front of the camera and you're doing all that, you're like, "This is great, the interviews." But it's the outside chirping and this other stuff. And I think we've all kind of talked about this. Sierra, I'm gonna start with you. One of the things that I admire about everybody on this panel is, look, I only know cool people, and I'm gonna say it because if you're not cool, I ain't messing with you. And we've all had these conversations, right? Like I'm very blunt and like, fuck, at 41, fuck it, I'm gonna say what I want. But we've also, and for the girls, we've all seen them. The girls that come in out of college like, "Oh my God, I'm here."
Oh, but it's so cute.
But and for you guys that are in observing this, don't ever talk to girls that are really cute and pretty, because you're gonna get in trouble because everybody's gonna think you're flirting with them, no matter what. But anyways, with those girls that come out, you at the end of the day, you want to be known for your work. You want to have a long-standing career. Start with you, Sierra. How do you maintain being who you are, not what everybody else wants to be? Because the reason I respect all three of you is you're doing it your way, how you want to do it. At the end of the day, you look in the mirror, you're like, I'm proud of who I am. How do you maintain that?
I don't think I really honestly figured that out until I was in Chicago, because in LA and Oklahoma City, all I wanted to do was be somebody that everyone liked. And when I stopped trying to be somebody that everyone liked is when I realized that people will like me more for being my authentic self.
Good.
And it took me a long time to get there. I mean, you have to think, I was in Colorado Springs, Oklahoma City, LA, and then finally, and it was actually my last year of my contract with NBC Sports Chicago when I got moved to the desk. So I was one of the main anchors for the flagship news show. That's when I actually figured it out. And it was my co-anchor who kind of brought it out of me. And he's like a white dude. He's got like the corny little zingers and stuff like that. But what he needed was somebody to play off of him. Like, he's super witty. But you have to have somebody, if you pair a really witty person with another witty person, it doesn't work, right? And it's like, it comes off as somebody trying to one-up each other the whole time.
Like
So
the combination of that, like get the older person or a younger
yes,
person.
What you were saying.
Balance it out, yeah, for sure.
you have to have that type of balance. But like, he needed somebody to laugh at his jokes. And I'll laugh at your jokes all day. Like, let's do this. Like, but they finally put me in a position where I felt super comfortable. And I think it was also because I had been there, I'd been in Chicago for a while, and it just they put us on a show too. They liked our chemistry. So they put us on like a stupid little unscripted Facebook live show that was like 10 minutes long. And that's where I finally found my voice, because I wasn't reading a prompter. I was just being myself, and I could say whatever I wanted to because it was Facebook Live and no one was going to crucify me on there. And it was refreshing, because that's where I finally started to get the response from people where they're like, "Man, you seem like you're really down as fuck." And I'm like, "Thanks." Like, I think so. Like, and so it was cool, because after I went there, it gave me that confidence after I left, where I was like, you know what? I'm going to be myself. And if you don't like it, you know what? You weren't going to like me anyway. And so then that's when I was like, I'm bringing out my hoop earrings. I don't care what you guys say. And so it was so funny. My co-anchor now here in Phoenix was like, he's like, "Orale, I like those earrings you were wearing tonight." I was like, you know what I'm saying? I got more of these big hoops for you.
Good girl.
And you know what? The thing though, in Phoenix, at Fox in Chicago, they never said anything about, "Hey, you're wearing leopard print," or "Hey, you're wearing big earrings." They never said anything. Here in Phoenix, I have yet to have a conversation about my earrings yet. So I don't think, I feel like here too, they were going to let me be me. When I came in here for this interview, the news director here said, "Hey, there's an opening in Chicago." And I said, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "Why aren't you getting it?" I'm like, "Can I be 100% honest with you?" He's like, yes, I'd like you to be. I'm like, they want a blonde and or a white girl. And he laughed and he smiled and he shook his head and he said, you know what? I like that you don't mince words. And then he called me the next day and offered me the job. And I was like, all right.
Serena?
It's crazy because, so Sierra, when you're saying these things, I'm like, and that's why, to me, the people who look out for me the most, whether it's a fellow Latino, whether it's a Jay Harris, or I'll even give Randy Scott, one of the greatest white males of all time. He, again, he just gets it, and it's that support. Or even when I came to LA and I started covering the Rams, but I was one of those guys who was like, yo, we need someone like you here. This is great that you're going to be part of the community. You're going to be called Mexican. And I'm like, great, fantastic. Call me Mexican. Let's go and do this thing. But before you even become comfortable with yourself again, I'm over here with like 10 different identities of everyone thinking I'm someone else. Like, until you get comfortable with yourself, you really need to be kind to people, because it's just, I mean, thank goodness for people that I've worked with over the years to kind of be like, nah, man, you're really good at this. Go do your thing. Like, I love doing Sports Center highlights once I got comfortable with how I was going to do it. I'm not going to tell and do my Sports Center highlight like Linda Cohn or Jay Harris. I'm going to do it my way. And once I got comfortable doing it, unfortunately, I was testing out the waters on national television. So there were not some great days for myself, but it is now working for the Rams. It's funny because, and I'll say this bluntly, like I think again, once again, I was hired as like the Latina because we're in Los Angeles, obviously majority Latino, but they hired myself and then they hired another woman to do the Spanish content. And I said, and they were like, oh, you don't speak Spanish on air? And I was like, no, it's not. I'm not grammatically correct when I speak Spanish, so I would prefer not to do any Spanish. And they were like, oh, well, we're looking for someone that's like Latino. And I was like, I was like, they're going to relate to me. No problem. I was like, I don't know what you're telling me, but, and they were like, yeah, well, someone that's, you know, they speak both English and Spanish. And I was like,
what they meant was somebody that's,
right. Like, it was just this fight, but it's Blanquitos that are telling me this, like, hey, we need you to do this. So they ended up hiring, I was like, hire someone else then, that you want someone to do Spanish. I don't care, I'm not intimidated by that. I know who I am, and it's great, but it's taken me that long to be like my agents are like, yo, could you learn Spanish? I mean, I actually am trying to fix my Spanish so that I can have opportunities if I want to do interviews, like just in a baseball locker room or something like that. But at the end of the day, it's like they just are pushing me to be like, could you do this? Because what if we want to have you do something else? And I'm like, what if I'm trying to compete against the Mike Tiricos and the Bob Costas? And I should be able to be in that lane as an English-speaking Latina and do my thing. But I think it's this balance of, and especially now, oh my God, in a football locker room where you either have the Morenitos or the Blanquitos from Iowa. And now my nickname is Mira, because I'm like, oh, Mira, come over here for a second. And they're like, Mira, what is Mira? And I'm like, well, yeah, how does no one know what this word is? So then now my nickname is Mira. And they're like, Mira, Mira, Mira. And I'm like, what up? But it's just, there's no Latinos at all in football. Like,
I know. Well, thank God at least her nickname is Mira. Mine was Little Bit.
Ay, Dios.
Exacto. Ay, Dios. Okay, so, you know what? And I'm going to say this. I'd love to see more young men and women coming up the ranks, because I know what Beto went through. But perhaps he has it a little easier just because of his gender. But the truth of the matter is, even if we come from Los Angeles, from Chicago, from New York, we have our Hispanic roots. We will speak the way we speak at home. And that will seep through. And our identity doesn't mesh well with what people want to see in that little square, at least what they expect to see in that little square, until they see our personalities. Now, when they see our personalities, when they see how relatable we are, the fact that we all have the same issues at home. We have the crazy abuela, we have the drunk tío, you know what I'm saying? We have the hog, we have the pretty prima, we all have that. It doesn't matter what language you're speaking. But in 30 years, it pains me. And when we talk about that new graduate from college that's coming, like, oh my God, I'm so excited, and you know they have that mic and they're holding on to that mic to their life. You know what I'm saying? They're so awkward, and I'm thinking, I wish I still had that excitement, and that, you know, I still have the butterflies, and I love what I do every minute. But I wish I had that naivete. I wish I had that nothing is gonna go wrong, and I'm already, you know, I'm ready, set, go, and I got the bull by the horn or the balls, whichever way, but I got them. And I want to maintain that. I've worked really hard to make sure that all these young women and young men that are coming up the ranks, and they ask me questions, and how do you do this, and how, you know, I come from the era that we were not allowed in the locker rooms. I mean, people that look like me did not walk into locker rooms. I've had people like John Sally stand right up in front of me, and, you know, there's a dimension issue here. It's like, but that's what happened. So as I see young men and women coming up the ranks, and I know the difference between being a girl and a boy, and I definitely know the difference, the racial and the background. The truth is, my goal is to bridge the gap, to really, I've never given a rat's ass about anything. And maybe it's my personality that I'm just like, so whatever.
Well, I think
You know,
that's why all three of you are successful. I think anybody who's on broadcast has to have that attitude of, I don't care what anybody's thinking, because you got to suck really, really bad to get good. And
yes,
yeah, and when you get there, and part of the reason that we're doing this is, like, you can major in journalism, whatever it is, but if you have to be willing to suffer in Greeley, Colorado, or like Claudia, or like Serena, like
no, you got, and first and foremost, Beto, the common denominator, even you have to major in yourself, because the news, the sports, anything you're talking about on that little square, be it Facebook Live, Insta Live, whatever, it's going to be the same. The difference is every single one of you. We're all different, and our view is going to be different. So we got to major in ourselves. Who are we? What is it that you believe? What is it that you like? What makes you tick? What makes you exciting? I mean, what makes you different? Period.
Because if you're not comfortable, like to your point, Claudia, like that's where, and it's unfair. But again, before you go on camera or whatever, I mean, better you don't get like the dumb crap that women receive on their Instagram and whatever, and all the inappropriate stuff that I gotta delete before my mother sees it and everything like that. But even more so, you got to get that out of your head, because I'm still trying to, I got to cover this game, and I got to be perfect, because if I messed up one thing, if I call a touchdown, a home run, or whatever, good God, forget it. They're like, she don't know what she's talking about. That's why women can't be covering the sport, da-da-da-da. Like, it is so you have to be so comfortable with yourself to be like, nah, man, I just cover more than one sport, and you only know one sport. So, like, you almost have to be so comfortable with yourself in order to be comfortable to cover any sport, and to be okay with making a mistake. Because if you're a young buck coming in and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to mess up, and you think about that, that's where, again, the errors come. But it's not fair, because it's all in your head, and it's unfair that people are getting these extra things where I won blanquito, like, no big deal. Oh, I messed up, but no one's even going to count that person or make them feel bad, because, oh, it's okay, keep going, you know?
But I'm gonna bring an experience to the table, just because.
Before you say that, right now, if you guys want to go ask questions, there's that Q&A tab. Click on that, and we'll zipper through some questions. I know you're leaving comments on the chat, but go through the Q&A so I can figure out some of the questions that we will ask as we wrap this up. Go for it, Claudia.
Well, but while he's going through this, I remember a few Super Bowls ago. Do you remember Sergio Deep from ESPN Deportes that was given the opportunity to go?
Yeah, I do.
It was painful to see. It was painful to see. Obviously, he was overwhelmed, but it happens to everybody. Being overwhelmed is not just for Sergio. It goes across the board. Be it that you speak Spanish, English, French, German, it doesn't matter. He was not given another opportunity.
But you know what? That's another conversation for another day, because I was mad about Sergio Deep. So he was that guy who said the Broncos coach is having the time of his life. Deep is a big-time ESPN Deportes reporter, but because it was Hispanic Cultural Month on September, they wanted to have a brown guy on the sidelines. Well,
True that.
Bernardo Osuna, who's fucking perfectly bilingual.
I know.
Claudia Trejos.
I know.
Give the English speaking fucking Serena Morales, who's at Sports Center. Put her
I
on
know.
there. But no, they wanted to have they wanted to have the real accent because the white bosses think, oh, accent, that's what we need. Fuck that.
But that's
Hey,
funny
that's
because
funny.
once they get it, ya valió madre.
Vale, madre.
Yeah.
All right. So here's a little background. Also, Claudia was the first female ever in LA. Sierra Santos was the first female Latina ever in Chicago. I forgot to bring that up, and it's pretty crazy. Ileana Limon Romero. Oh, wow. She's the sports editor of the Orlando Sentinel. And on Friday, we're actually having a panel with her that's going to be for writers. Ileana,
Go.
yeah. What is the most valuable advice anyone ever gave you? We'll start with you, Claudia.
Be you. And I remember Tony Hernandez, he was the #1 at KTLA. He said, talent takes time. It takes time. You don't become good from one day to the next. Just be patient.
Serena?
I feel like I've gotten a lot of pieces of advice from a lot of different people, and I would say just keep going. Like almost when I'm listening to Sierra and Claudia speak, like, and then I did this, and then I was here, and I did this, and I kept trying, or I kept pushing. I mean, I was at National Geographic before I got the job at ESPN, and I was overseeing social media for National Geographic, and I was like, okay, this is the end to my sports days. I will never be a sports reporter ever again. I'm going to take this amazing opportunity. I'm going to say goodbye to being a sports reporter. And I took the job at National Geographic. And in the back of my head, I was always like, if an opportunity comes, and I don't know how I'm going to put myself out there overseeing social media for animals, but if so, I will be prepared. I will stay ready kind of thing. And I kept putting it out to the universe. I would almost say, and I'm not like one of those like, oh, The Secret is the answer, whatever the book was that everyone read at some point in the 90s. But I would say this, like when you put it out to the universe, that sucker comes back sometimes. So I was like, yo, I'm going to cover the Yankees. I'm going to be a sports reporter. I'm going to work on ESPN. And I kept saying it. And somehow opportunities, like I kept knocking on the ESPN door and I kept putting myself in front of people and just connecting and showing my enthusiasm and being like, yo, I played baseball in the Bronx. You don't have anyone that did that, sucker, so put me through and let me make my mistakes, and I'm okay with that, and as long as you're okay with that, let's do this damn thing. And so when I kept doing that and I took the job at National Geographic, I kept posting random things about sports on Nat Geo's Twitter, Instagram. Like at that time, if people went back, they were like, what in the world is happening to poor it's to oversee this social media platform? And the person who saw I didn't even know this, but Rob King, who's the head of SportsCenter, was a huge National Geographic fan. And he was just like, I am so fascinated by how you're managing the account. And I saw some of your on-camera stuff. And I just think that you are the perfect mix of who we need to bring to ESPN. And so he took hands on me. But I really never stopped, again, watching sports. I never stopped working on my craft. So I think it's really just like, keep going and keep putting it out there, and someone will pick it up at some point and go, all right, here, you ready to eat? Go eat.
Go.
And before we get to Sierra's answer, the record, yes, she did say she played baseball. Serena Morales was trying to make the U.S. team, right, in baseball. You were a pitcher, right?
I wish I was a pitcher. I was first baseman, and I lied, and I told them I played on an all-men's team. I played against Danny Almonte in high school. And I practiced with the baseball team in my high school. I mean, I was like decent. I wasn't like the best, but I was like hanging in there. But they never picked me, so I quit and I played softball. And then I became a.
How tall are you? How tall are you?
Oh, 5'5" on a good day.
That's with hooker heels. Yeah, there's no way, not even underhanded. But that's okay. It's good.
Sierra.
Best advice I got was don't worry about being funny. Just worry about being good. And I think once you have the basic skills down, then you can kind of mix in your personality, because if you're so worried about making mistakes and stuff like that, your personality can't really shine. So once you have the kind of reps under your belt and you feel like good about being on camera, like I can do this, that's when you can throw in your little like funny little side comments and stuff like that. But I think I was so worried about, I was trying to be funny and trying to be different in the beginning, and it doesn't work. Like in the beginning, you just have to worry about being good.
Getting
and
good.
then all the other stuff will come later.
This one comes from Cynthia Esqueda. What's the best way to face or confront your boss about not being treated fairly or discriminated? Because I'm Latina, everything I say comes out defensive, but I say I'm very passive.
Proof of evidence. Anything. I go into conversations very almost blank. Like, here is how I feel, and these are the reasons why I feel this way. But you have to come in, like, save those emails, like what Sierra did.
CYA.
Receipts.
And
Keep the receipts.
keep them. And if you have, and like, you might still get a tone deaf person, but at least you tried. And at that point, it's your choice to leave and protect this. Because at the end of the day, if you lose your mind here, you got nothing. So go and do what you can. And at some point, to me, now that I've worked I work for a white woman right now, and there are times where, like, she doesn't get it because she has white privilege and she doesn't understand the things that I might be experiencing or whatever. So sometimes I write everything down and I let it sit for a while, and then I come back the day later and I go, hey, just want to catch up quickly. And I usually make the idea there somehow, like Jedi mind tricks. Hey, look, I know that, you know, woman to woman, find something that you can connect with that person, whether it's a man, a woman, blanquito, whatever, doesn't matter. Find a level
Find.
field. And then sometimes they're more receptive. But if you go in with emotions and you go in saying, like, you don't treat me this way, I deserve this, they're going to be like, nah, then we'll find somebody else. So make them give reason and put them at ease before you have a conversation like that.
That's what I was saying. We're meant here to bridge a gap. And a lot of times we underestimate typical. There's no such thing as typical, because everybody's going to have a background. Everybody's going to have their own filter, be it a racial, religious, let's not even label it. Everybody has a filter. So if the minute that you just get out of yourself and bridge the gap, that will allow. I'm not saying that that's going to be a sure thing, because we already saw what happened to Serena so many times. But the truth of the matter is, at the end, there will be somebody that's willing to give you an opportunity. It happened to all of us. But you need to be able to, put all those feelings aside, because especially if you work on TV, you cannot get hurt. You cannot take it personal. You just can't. It will hurt at the beginning. It will sting, but perseverance is key. And just understanding that you're there to do something. You didn't stop. Beto hasn't stopped. And you keep going, somebody's going to listen.
I think for me, I don't know. I've been in that situation before, and I ended up having to leave the job. I think that I was kind of, I don't want to say underappreciated, because my coworkers really appreciated me in Chicago, at the Fox in Chicago. But like here in Phoenix, this is the first time where I feel like appreciated. And that's insane that I'm in like the 9th year of my career or whatever, 10th year of being in broadcasting, that I finally feel like appreciated, and people tell me good job, and people give me really positive feedback, or they, it's just, it sucks that it took 9 years to get a job where people were like, appreciate what I bring to the table. But there is somewhere that will appreciate you. It just takes a while to find it. And don't settle for a place that doesn't appreciate you, or that, makes you feel like, oh man, you're just being the spicy Latina because you're bringing this to the table. I'll tell you this, when I was at NBC Sports Chicago, when I was, my contract was up and they haven't been renewing people there. I've been gradually letting people go, like a lot of regional sports networks. When I was on my, when my boss was telling me this, that, hey, we're not renewing your contract, we're not renewing so-and-so's contract, we're not renewing blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God. And he's like, can I give you some advice? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you're too nice. He's like, I have talent that is high maintenance, low maintenance, and no maintenance. He's like, you are no maintenance. But just because he's like, and everyone loves you, everyone loves working with you, but sometimes no maintenance just flies under the
Falls
radar
through a crack.
and you don't get heard. And he's like, I never had anyone come into my office and complain about you. And I never had you come into my office and complain either. He's like, so you need to be a little bit more aggressive in your next job or your next position and stand up for yourself. And I was like, damn, I'm too nice. Like, what?
Let me cut you off there because I know you. You're not nice because you're like a bulldog. You go after. No, and that's one of the things I like about you because you have that attitude. Like, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna be.
No, but there's a difference. There's a difference between being nice and assertive. She's assertive.
That's what. But here's what I want to ask. I want to follow up with this stuff. Do you feel as a Latina that you can't really express what you're saying compared to the white girl?
No, because if you ask my coworkers, they know I swear like a sailor. You know, they know that I drop F-bombs left and right. They know that. And they'll be like, yeah, Sierra's like, she's kind of crazy and out there. But with management, I never wanted to rock the boat. And I didn't want to have that reputation for being like, oh, that she's bitchy Latina and she's always got pissed off about something. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to have that reputation or play into that or, you know, that stereotype. So I would just kind of like cruise through. I'm like, okay, you know, still here, you know, like I didn't want to rock the boat. And I think that to me, sorry, I'm on low battery, was kind of a wake up moment for me where I said, okay, well, maybe I do need to express my needs more to management and say, hey, I need this. I did that in Chicago and I was more aggressive. I said, hey, I want this job. Hey, I need more hours. Hey, I need this. And my direct supervisor was very supportive. Beyond that, it was a little bit more challenging. And so that's why I say, you know, man, it feels so good to be somewhere where, you know, they appreciate what I do and what I bring to the table, and they appreciate my experience.
It's you gotta be careful. It's like as a male, it's easier. I'm not even gonna pretend like it's not. As a Latino in this business, you find your own way. I can't imagine what the three of you have gone through. That's why I wanted to have this panel, because there's never been this kind of open dialogue anywhere you go. So for those of you who are attending today, thank you very much. And know that you're getting something special, because you can go to any kind of professional forum and it's gonna be like, basically a pissing contest, like how amazing everybody is. And it's like, I want this. I'm like, dude, they're local SoCal regional Emmys. Everybody gets them. Like, don't worry about that. This is like the real honest talk.
We lost Sierra. Sierra.
I'm getting my charger.
You get here, charge it. We'll be wrapping up, but just real quick answers from this one. This one from Jason. Hey, Jason. How important is one's social media persona to their success in today's age? Serena, let's start with you.
I think huge. I think you have to be really authentic. I think I'm someone that, like, again, I get hit up to like now, you know, it's different now, because when you went into journalism back in the day, everything was not branded, right? You couldn't associate yourself with any brand. It was biasness. It was unethical. I think there is a change in how, to me, I think the way that you carry yourself on social media better match up with the way you carry yourself on any other camera, because they're going to pinpoint and find out that you are a fraud, you're fake. Look at someone like Matt Lauer. I put this conversation all the time.
Oh, touche.
I always watched him and I was like, he is not the man that he is on camera. And it bothered me. And it used to bother me a lot of like anchors I used to grow up watching, where I'm like, he is so unauthentic. Like, let me take my gut, let me act like this and it's just so unauthentic. So when every time I carry myself on camera, it's got to be the same every time. If I'm going to carry myself like this on broadcast, yeah, I might speak with a little better grammar and I might, you know, not move my arms as much. But at the end of the day, everyone who has seen me always knows this is how I carry myself.
We all speak with our hands. We're all doing this.
Yes, we do.
When I'm on broadcast, when I'm in ESPN, it doesn't matter. So I think for sure, the way you carry yourself, the way you put yourself on social media, it better relate in a seamless way with how you are on camera. I think that's the best way. So people are like, oh yeah, I know exactly who this person is. I like the way that she carries herself on her social media. I trust her, because that's how you gain trust now. It's about being authentic. It's about trustworthiness, which I think is huge. Being a sports reporter or any reporter, you want to be trusted now. There's a lot of fake news. There's a lot of things that you can't trust about people. So the more that you can earn someone's trust, and if you can do it very easily through here, then do that.
I'll say this because nobody knows where you work anymore. They know your Instagram. Look, I got a shirt that says Bethel Vision up there. Somebody made for me. They don't even know my name, but they just sent me a Bethel Vision shirt because that's your brand. And that's what you get. Because nobody knows where you work, really. They know who you are. And if you noticed, if you follow my Instagram, you saw the flyer that got made up. It says Bethel Duran, Living the Dream, because the name of my podcast is called Living the Dream. And I hate promoting myself and taking credit for a lot of things. But I noticed, remember how I sent you guys the original flyer? It was just the paper and the times.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, other people started retweeting it and other organizations started taking credit. What a great idea. And I was like, oh, fuck that. Like, I'm doing all this work. I don't take credit. Like, because you have to. And that's kind of like what you were saying, Sierra, of like, open up a little bit more, speak a little bit more. It's like, you got to protect your brand. And right now, I want to send a good shout out to Olivia Ramirez. She's 6 years old watching this.
Aww.
She is glued to this right now.
Sorry.
What about the bad words? Her dad's a baseball coach. Perfect.
Ah, thank God.
Erasmo Ramirez is a good friend of mine. He coaches at Segerstrom High School here in Orange County. He played for the Texas Rangers, good left-handed reliever. And his daughter, he has 3 girls, they want to get into this business. And they've been watching this. And 6-year-old Olivia, he sent me a picture. She's glued in. So Olivia, how you doing? Thanks for watching this.
Hi, Olivia.
Which goes to my next question. You have the young Olivia. You have the young 15-year-olds. There's Marisol de la Torre, who's a sophomore in high school watching right now. Best advice you have for those young girls that want to become Sierra Santos, Claudia Trejos, Serena Morales?
Wow. I think it's a combination of what all these beautiful ladies have said. You keep going, you keep moving. Do not sell yourself short, and do not let this one mess around with this one, because we are all heart and soul. We do what we do, and God knows people think that we have the glamorous life. We put in 23 hours in a 24-hour day, and most of the times we are not. This is a very tough job. But if it isn't for the heart, we wouldn't be here. But sometimes you said it right, Serena. Sometimes this one, when it's not clear and it's feeding you bad information, tearing you down, because we are our worst critics. To this day, after 30, it's going to be 31 years in this business, I don't like to hear myself. I don't like to see myself. And whenever I do live TV, for me is the best because it's packed, ready to go. I never have to see it again. But be true to yourself. Do not sell yourself short, and do not let this one mess around with your head. You keep going. And that goes, I think, for everything, not just TV, in general. I mean, whatever your heart is telling you to do, trust it. Trust it. That's the right way to go.
I would say this quickly. I feel like a lot of young people, they're like, oh, I have to, if I'm going to be a sports reporter, then I have to just watch sports all the time. And I just have to dress like a tomboy, and I just have to do things and I'm guilty of it. And now I think the success that I've had has come from, I am constantly challenging myself to get out of sports so that I can be better in sports. So when I get ideas from again, working at National Geographic was probably the best thing that ever came to my sports reporting, because I now am aware of how other people obtain information. And so I can utilize what National Geographic did as storytellers and apply it to sports. I listen to classical music every once in a while, so I can just get in my head something else to tease it, so that I'm not thinking constantly about, oh, Last Dance, oh, MJ, oh, let me talk like this. This is how sports reporters always talk. And they're always, like, I am trying very hard to continue to challenge us as sports reporters in general, no matter race, no matter anything, just to, like, buy plants, do yoga, listen to different music, do all the things that have nothing to do with sports, walk on the beach or go for a walk and something, but get out of the sports, because I think we're never going to push it forward We are constantly, I criticize the media all the time in general of how come we are still in the, I'm going to report and this person's going to stand next to me and we're just going to tell stories like this. That's where feature stories have come in and we push that. And now we have social media. How can we tell better stories using our phones? How can we tell better stories? Podcasts are huge now. But those things started because someone challenged the system, the norm. So for young people, anybody, I would say, go do something that no one has done before. Go try your head and do something else. And it doesn't have to be sports in order to be very successful as a sports reporter.
Yeah.
I would say tap into professional groups, join a professional organization, whether it's NHJ, whether it's Awesome, because when recruiters go to somewhere like Awesome, they're looking for female talent.
Right.
So you have to think about that and get involved somehow. And then when somebody who is older than you says, hey, let me take a look at your tape and I'll give you some feedback and stuff like that, take them up on it. Like, take them up on it. You don't hesitate to ask for critique. Sometimes you're not going to like what they say. Like I should have told this girl one time, I was like, yo, your hair is distracting. It is a hot mess. Like, figure it out, because when I watch your tape, I can't even focus on what you're saying because your hair is it's like the whole entire screen. I was like, you got to chop it, figure out something sleek, something that's not as distracting. I mean, it was a distraction, and she did. And she ended up getting a job, and she's doing really well. But I'm sure she didn't like that. But you know what she did say? She goes, you're not the first person to tell me that. So if you're hearing that kind of stuff, maybe somebody's like, oh, your voice is so annoying. Well, that's probably their opinion. And I mean, if you've got 9 people telling you your voice is annoying, maybe talk to a voice coach. But I think that asking for feedback from somebody who has been in the business a long time, it always helps, no matter what. And when I go to NHJ, for example, and I give my email or my phone number, my cell phone, to somebody who's in college, I said, if you need anything, text me. If you want me to look at your reel, text me, blah, blah, blah. If you see a job open at a station, let me know. I'll go through their talent list and see if I know somebody, so that your resume goes to the front of the pile. I mean that. I'm not BSing. I'm not saying that just to sound cool or whatever. I mean that because I mean that. And if I'm meeting you at NHJ, it's because you're also Latina and you're trying to get in the business, and we need more representation. If it's somebody, and it's the same thing goes for ASU people, Arizona State. If somebody hits me up from Arizona State, I'm always going to reply to an Arizona State alum. Now, if they're from Oregon, I can't guarantee you that I'm going to write you back. But
and to pick up on that point, the mentoring, we all will do it, but at the same point, you, the person who wants that job or that career, you got to go above and beyond to find us. Like, if Sierra's giving you the number, how many times have you given out your number and they never follow up? I know.
Never. All the time. People never follow up. All the time.
And it's I don't want to bother you. Well, I gave you my number for a reason. Like,
right.
Like, my thing is, I'll give you my number if you're cool. If I don't really care, or if I don't think you're going to follow up, I'll give you my email, because I never check my emails. So that's why.
That's why you don't answer my emails.
But it's like, look, look, I'm gonna use it as a guy for the guys. You guys will DM every girl like, oh, you want to go out with them, but you won't DM somebody who's doing the job that you want. Like, you got to go and shoot your shot. You got to get after
Common
it.
sense. Common sense.
One more question, and this is a good one right here. Audrey Diaz, how do you maintain player relationships in a male-dominated press room, locker room? Because everybody's assuming that you're dating the players. Sierra?
This is something that I'm challenged with even now. I mean, okay, so the thing is, Beto goes in, he has a 20-minute conversation with Fulano, and he leaves, and they have this great rapport, whatever. I sit there and I have a 20-minute conversation with Fulano, and he's asking for my number after those 20 minutes are up, right? Or he finds me on Instagram and he's sliding in my DMs later that afternoon. So that is something that you're always, it's a problem, okay? And so the way the best way I put it is like, if it's a baseball player, I go, do you want to go back to single A? And they go, no, I don't. I go, well, neither do I. So listen, here's the thing. You will stay in the major leagues. I will get demoted. Okay. So what I put so much work into this career that it's not worth you. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a wonderful person. Find somebody else who is interested in dating you. You have plenty of girls that you follow on Instagram that sell flat tummy tea that I'm sure would more than willing to take you up on this. But it ain't me. And they're like, the number one thing they say is, well, no one's going to find out. They all find out. Everybody finds out. That is the biggest lie that anyone has ever said. So the thing is, an intern, for example, this happened to her when I was at NBC Sports Chicago. She did an interview with the big Blackhawks player, and she afterwards she sat there and she was shooting the breeze with them for a little bit, and then afterward he's like, so can I get your number? And she was like horrified, right? This first time she's ever interviewed this Blackhawks star. She's just such a big, whatever. Her mind was blown that this could possibly happen. And she's like, what would you have done? I go, what I would have done is got the one-on-one interview, said, thank you so much for your time. I'll see you next time. And walked away, because it's going to take you 10 more of those to build up the rapport that Beto has and be taken seriously. They have to know that you're there to do a job, that you're not there to, be somebody's side chick, because that's what's going to happen. And that's how I can't tell you how many times that's happened. And they all say, no one's going to find out. We can just be friends.
And no. Finds out right away? The male media, because the male guys are a bunch of chismosos. We know exactly what you look for, and it's like, oh, did you hear that intern from NBC? Oh yeah, you could tell. She walked in, just like you said, Sarah. She did the interview and she hung out a little bit, ha ha ha, and next thing you know, and you'll never see her again, right, Serena?
How is my job open? I got the job because someone didn't obey by the rules.
Oh, that's right.
Touche.
No, that's right. Okay, so the Rams job, the girl that had it before Serena, ended up hooking with the player. Girl gets fired. Had a great job. That's right. I forgot about that, Serena.
Touche.
Coming to the job. And Claudia, you would probably have a book and still be writing the book.
I do.
Yeah, I'll say this. I take over for someone who the players now are like, oh, this is how this works, right? Like, Chick set the standard for me. So now I come in, and she had messed up for Lindsay Theory as well. Players started treating other female reporters that covered the team inappropriately because esta muchacha, she set the standard. I didn't even realize. So I come in. My first day covering the Rams in the locker room, and you all know when you walk into a locker room, they need to change the whole standard. The whole thing's got to change. Maybe with this coronavirus thing, they change it where they have the guys get dressed before. And no, men and women don't want to see anybody naked. There's no need for it.
No, we don't need to, but we've seen it. Trust me.
So I walk into the locker room. I'm brand new. I am trying my best to, again, I come from ESPN. I'm over here trying to make a good name for myself. I'm over here like, all right, I already know what to do. I walk in the locker room. I walk past people. And one guy who's not on the team anymore, I walk past. This guy gets out of the shower, drops his towel. And right there, I got everything right in front of me.
We've seen it all. Yes.
Yeah, and it's the same move. They do it every time. And they're like,
yes, they do.
You like what I'm working with here? Because you can work with this, right? Like, that's basically what they look at you. And it took every ounce of me because, again, I just started. I know exactly what happened before I came into the job, and I'm just trying to get through today, my first day on the job. Again, when we talk about, your head and you're not thinking straight, guys, you don't have to deal with this stuff. I'm telling you, no one's flashing you to go and make you feel uncomfortable in a locker room of 53 men, plus practice squad and coaches. So I walk in, dude, letting it hang all out. And I was just like, put it away. No one needs to see that right now. I'm not here for that. And I walk away. and it was the best. Thank goodness my head was on straight and I had a clear head and I didn't feel uncomfortable. But all of a sudden, everyone turned to that dude and was just like, bro, she just put you in your spot. And it helps because, again, to Sierra's point, everyone finds out, they all know, they all talk. So all of a sudden, that little trickle effect worked in my favor because they were like, don't mess with her. She's not here for that. She just called that, put him on blast. But it happens so much. And I will say this because it is impossible to not get along with guys and appreciate them. I have some of the best relationships with some of these guys, and I text them and go, yo, I hope you're well. I do a lot of, what's up, buddy? What's going on, my man? Yo, I got you. There are ways to kind of, like, I say, Mira, I'm like, Mira, don't be talking to me like that. I'm not here for that. Sometimes you have to, like, lessen, even though it makes it very uncomfortable for you. You almost have to put on your shield a second and be like, I'm not here for that, and almost ease them, because then they're like, oh, she said no to me. I'm not going to give her an interview. And then you got to deal with that problem. So you almost have to go, hey, man, like, I got a dude, or I'm not, you actually have to figure it out, and it sucks. And sometimes you can tell someone off and it's going to feel awesome. And other times you have to be like, oh man, no, I'm engaged. And then I find a ring. I bought a ring one time and I put it on my finger. I was like, I'm engaged. I'm sorry.
But nobody knows. Nobody will find out.
You just have to.
It's sad that we have
engaged too.
and nobody will know. Well, this is the funny thing. Imagine it has not changed, because obviously I went through exactly the same thing. I just had a little bit of more of an attitude at the time. And I just said, dude, do you really want me to talk about your little shit? Really?
That's
Really?
Claudia Trejo. And also, I've seen this where you knew that somebody was hooking up with one of the players. And to your point, Serena, they go for the interview, and the guy, they probably just broke up or something, was like, no answers. So now that person can't do their job, and screw. Not worth it. All right, so we finished it on that. This was awesome. Thank you, ladies, very, very much.
Thank you, Serena. Thank you, Sierra. Thank you, Beto. It was a pleasure.
We're not done. I'm just saying thank you with the questions.
Yo creía que ya nos íbamos.
I mean, since when are you going to ever have Latinas in less than an hour together, right? We've been doing this. But right now...
I'm missing my tequila, man. Esto palo seco doesn't work.
Because you're in Miami, you should have your tequila lista. If you want, like, you're talking about helping out and mentoring, you will all do it. So if you want to give out your information on where somebody can contact you, Sierra, let's start with you.
Yeah, you can reach out to me in a variety of ways. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, or you can email me. I'm at tvsierra, SIERA, at gmail.com, at yahoo.com. I'm easy to find. You can find me. But I really mean it when I say, hey, if you need anything, reach out. That's what I love doing. I love giving back because, it makes a difference.
Morales?
I will get my Rams email out. It's smorales@rams.nfl.com. And because I've had a lot of scary stories from my social media, if people want to reach out after this panel, I will check my DMs on my Instagram for like the next hour or so. And so if you reach out to me, I will check in the next hour, because mama don't pay attention to any of that stuff. I have to follow you. You got to be cool. Like, I'm not. So, but if you write me on Instagram, at Morales, because I'm a Morales. If you write me on Instagram, or if you tweet at me, I'll check my stuff within the next hour, and I'll make sure I respond and get you.
Make sure you said you met her on the panel.
Please.
Not just like, what's up?
Right.
Yeah. What up, G? Well, same here. Claudia Trejos at claudia.trejos@espn.com. And you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter. And you can DM me. I do read it. At this time in my life, it's like...
Claudia, I'm going to DM you.
And actually, that's how I connected with Claudia. I was like, hey, I didn't have your number. I was like, damn it,
how could you not have my number?
I didn't save it. I think I might have deleted it. Vieja loca, maybe. Or
Hey, do not answer. She's crazy.
I'm not even gonna start with the DNAs. But thank you very much. This is fantastic. And like I said, never done like this before. And I couldn't think of anybody else to have you. I consider all of you friends, and I'm glad that you are paving the way for the next generation. I think everybody that attended today really got something out of it, because real honest talk, and just seeing some of the comments. Thank you so much, and good luck to all of you, and we'll see you soon. So for Flight of Trek hosts, Serena Morales and Sierra Santos, thank you guys for watching. If you want, there's more panels available later on this week. Just check out my Instagram, BetTheVision, and let me know. And everybody's saying thank you. And like I said, when you have a 6-year-old watching you, and they're like, "Gang, that girl sounds like mom," that's exactly what you want right there.
Yes, we're happy to hear that.
Love it.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Beto.
you.